In the spirit of collaboration, Atlantic Center for the Arts and I, composer Keith Lay, Department Chair of Music Industry Studies at Full Sail University, will transform the 68-acre campus of ACA into an interactive musical instrument that pushes the boundaries of 21st century composition. Distance music describes a method of music construction that uses the time required for sound to travel to create rhythm. The first distance work was called Inspire. Building off of Inspire, I created the second distance music project, Distance Music at Lake Eola, for 7 train horns, 28 brass, 2 conductors, and walking audience. To make distance music possible, I needed very loud musical instruments, for which Nathan Airchime generously loaned me train horns. Parker Pneumatics also donated heavy-duty solenoid valves. For distance music at ACA 2020, 7 of these nitrogen gas-powered train horns, collectively called the distance organ, will be used, and new MIDI-to-digital radio telemetry controllers designed by Pribusen and built by Muskegon Heights High School robotics team students will make their premiere. For this piece, audiences begin their musical journey at Point West, the urban amphitheater. 100 feet is what I call the primary interval of this piece. At 80 degrees Fahrenheit, sound waves will travel this 100 feet in 88 milliseconds. 88 milliseconds is also the length of a 16th note at a tempo of quarter note equals 171. 600 feet to the northeast is Point East, which is the first destination point to where the audience will walk. East is 526 milliseconds distant from west, which is the same as 6 16th notes in a row. The distance organ is placed only on locations that are primary intervals from both west and east. West will get chords when all of the horns play at once. East will get a scale. At 0 milliseconds, all 7 horns are playing their loud short notes, but you haven't heard anything yet. That's because the sound waves haven't reached you. 88 milliseconds after the horns in the distance organ played, the first sound wave has made it to the listeners standing at east. It's the note C4. The audiences at west haven't heard anything yet. A lot happens at the 175 millisecond mark. At west, 3 notes sound waves pass at the same time that make a G minor triad. At the very same time, east listeners only hear an E flat. They can't hear the G minor chord that the others hear. At 263 milliseconds, the people at east hear an F. At 351 milliseconds, again, only east gets a sound. At 439 milliseconds, the audience at west hears 4 notes at once, spelling out an F7 chord, because FAC and E flat are all equidistant. The audience at east hear the A only from the distance organ. All sound waves of the distance organ have already passed through west after this 526 millisecond mark, but east listeners have not yet heard 2 horns, B flat from 600 feet and then D from 700 feet. In real time, if the distance organ plays every note simultaneously, then the audience at west will hear 2 chords. And in the same moments, like this to the audience at east. With each step, audiences will hear a slight change in the timing for each horn. The continuum is the infinitely gradual timing change that happens when the distance changes. Outside of east and west, the rhythms will not arrive metrically but chaotically. Up to this point, we've used the specific condition that the distance organ plays simultaneously. That is called a mode 1 state, and should repeat long enough to allow time for the audience to 1. Experience a metric point like west, 2. Experience the meter disintegrating into chaos, and hearing the rhythms reintegrate as they arrive at another metric point. Mode 2 describes a free playback state, where horns are independent of each other. Here's a demonstration of how the melodies at east and west would differ at the same moment if the distance organist sent the following music sequence. Ten improvising musicians, without written music or any plan, will wander along the paths throughout the center. They will freely make up anything they like to accompany the distance music melody heard at any location they occupy. They are allowed to bunch up with other musicians they meet and improvise with each other while improvising with the train horns too. The result is that the walking audience will likely encounter musicians interacting with the distance organ at each other. This human interaction provides 1. Pitch variations from the same 7 notes being repeated throughout the piece, 2. A chance for the audience and musicians to share an intimate space, all experiencing something new at each step, and 3. A chance for musicians to experience music to improvise to that they can change by changing their location. I hope that you like this idea and you would like to support it.